All right, y'all, I have a very special pistol to bring to you guys today. And this one's special for a few reasons, but yeah, I've been looking for this thing for just a little while. Well, me and the girlfriend have been looking for this one for a little bit now. And during one of my usual rounds around my favorite gun shops around town, I just happened to find it. So the pistol that we're talking about is this. Oh wow, look at that, right? This is a Beretta 92 FS Inox. But not just any Inox, it's the Italian version. And you can tell, from a number of different places on this gun, but mostly the fact that it says literally right there, made in Italy, if you can read that. But also the proof marks on the frame. Okay, so just for a basic identification, you can see right here on the frame right there. Those are European proof house or acceptance marks, basically. And those are not present on the US made guns. It is also on the barrel, cleverly hidden. If you look here with the slide retracted there, you can see the very same proof marks there on the barrel. So those are just two easy ways to see if yours actually is an Italian one, a spaghetti one if you will, versus a US made one. And for some collectors that makes a difference because just due to the logistical nature of it, the Italian ones are obviously harder to get than the US made ones. And in my personal subjective opinion, or perhaps objective opinion, if people know better than me, I personally think that the Italian ones are better made than the US ones, but that's just me. Okay, now there might be differences with their manufacturing processes or quality control standards or things like that between the US factory and the Italian one, right? I'm not privy to that information, but if there's someone out there who knows better and has proof, of course, feel free to share that. Now, this one, of course, has had a few different upgrades and changes done to it since I first got it. Like I said, this is really more for the girlfriend than for me. She fell in love with the 92 series of pistols ever since she shot my 96 that I've converted into a 9mm with a Parker Mountain machine compensator on there. She really liked that gun, and she liked any 92 pistol that she has shot ever since. So when I mentioned and showed her that this kind of pistol was available, she just absolutely fell in love with it, and she's still going to do some more upgrades to it, but in the meantime, this is how it looks. However, from the factory, the Inoxes do come with different grips. Now, the Inoxes have changed drastically over the years, depending on when yours was made or when you see a particular example of when it was made. All kinds of different things can be stainless or black. The materials could be different, so on and so forth. The actual colors between the slide and the frame can be different. All kinds of changes and things have been done. There's even a Brigadier slide version of the Inox as well, but those are exceptionally rare. So some people who are more familiar with the Inoxes will know that there's an Inox variant called the Ghost, where everything is stainless colored except the grips, I think. But I have seen some examples where people have put like a brushed stainless aluminum grip here on both sides to give it the totally stainless look. I think that's pretty sharp. But this particular version is a modern production one, so the modern ones are going to look pretty much like this. The grips, of course, and the grip screws are different, and I'll show you those. So here are the factory grips that come with the Inox, and to my knowledge, these particular styles of rubber grips are not available as a separate purchase on Beretta's website. They sell a whole huge bevy of other different kinds of grips that you can get for 92 series pistols and a bunch of other cool stuff. But I have never seen the Inox particular style of these kinds of grips for sale on their web store. So I think maybe they do that on purpose as kind of like an exclusivity type thing with the Inox pistols to kind of, I don't know, make it feel more special, right, than your standard 92, which I think is, that's okay with me. The other thing with these grips is they're kind of chunky, to be honest. They're quite thick. And while they do look good on the gun, for practical purposes, practical shooting, I don't really find that these are really all that effective. They will not grab on clothing hardly at all. They're kind of smooth in a way. and I mean, there's some pebbling on there, some texture, but it doesn't really do anything. If you have sweaty hands, bloody hands, oily hands, whatever, these grips will provide absolutely no traction at all. So I think these are really more for looks than practical use, to be honest. As well, the grip screws normally that come with Inoxes are a slot screw. That is one thing I will criticize Beretta for with their 92 series pistols, is the slot grip screws. I absolutely detest those things. I hate them. They are so shallow in all the wrong ways that multiple times now when I've tried to get any particular kind of screwdriver in those slot grip screws to get them out, they have slipped, they have chipped, they have cut the metal of the grip screws, and they create like these little tiny slivers. And so one time when I was working on my 96, I wanted to change the grips out to ones that look almost like this. And the screwdriver slipped because it was in there really good from the factory, which is good, right? But anyway, the screwdriver slipped and it cut a little bit of the metal out, and there was a sliver sticking out, but I didn't see that. So I put my thumb right back on there to try to grab it, and the sliver went directly into my thumb, and it's like think like a splinter from hell, like a wood splinter, but a metal one instead. And it stuck directly into my finger, and that hurt like hell, and I was bleeding profusely. Because out of your fingers there's a lot of blood vessels and stuff, so it tends to bleed a lot. But I ended up getting a small amount of blood on my 96, and I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. So from that point on, I vowed to never again use the Beretta slot grip screws, and instead switch to a much more practical and better looking option, which is the hex head grip screws, which I think look way better, and of course handle a lot better when you're trying to remove them and work with them and things like that. So definitely an upgrade if you ask me. So what else about the Inox is different from your standard 92? So of course the parts are stainless, and also on the front here it literally says stainless right there at the front of the slide, in case you were not aware that this was in fact a stainless finish gun. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's still got a plastic hammer spring housing here, lanyard loop. That's plastic. The magazine release is plastic. I believe the trigger is the standard kind of plastic over metal. I believe the safety is metal, however, so that's pretty cool. Standard hammer, so nothing special with the hammer. It looks like your standard 92FS hammer. It's not a scalped model, it's not a skeletonized model, nothing fancy like that. All the other parts seem to be pretty standard 92FS. I mean, they're all black. I don't think they have any particular kind of special finish on them to make them slicker or anything like that. But yeah, and the recoil spring and guide rod that it uses is the this style. So it's the non-captive plastic guide rod with standard recoil spring. So this is just one of the different styles that they have on some of their pistols. Like my 96, for instance, has a plastic captured guide rod, at least for the 40 cal version it did anyways. But I've seen even military M9s that have this style of guide rod. I've seen military M9s or 92FS pistols that have a steel non-captive guide rod like this. I've seen other M9A1 commercial models that have a captive guide rod, and just everything in between. So, but that's the one that the Inoxes now come with, is this style. I have since replaced it, of course, with, let's see if I can take this down here real quick. I have since replaced it with a factory Beretta stainless steel one-piece full guide rod like this, also non-captive. And it's weirdly enough that they don't really mention the recoil spring weight for that spring, because it is definitely different from the stock recoil spring, and you can just tell just by looking at them like this. The construction of the stainless steel guide rod recoil spring is different from the stock one, and of course it is stainless versus this kind of I don't know, darker finish, I guess. I don't know what finishes they use on the recoil springs, but this one is definitely stainless. So that's another part that I upgraded, because there's nothing wrong with the plastic ones like this, but I feel like when you're gonna you're going to be going all out and having a nice pistol like this, and especially if you're doing it for someone else that's important to you, you know, like say significant other, right? You want to gussy it up. You want to doll it up. You want to make it look nicer, feel nicer, operate better. You know, you want to do those little things to really kind of tune it up a little bit, right? So that was definitely one of the things that I wanted to do, because in my 96 I have a all steel non-captive guide rod. I think it was Wilson Combat, but it's got like the fancy little flutes and everything on it, and I have a reduced power recoil spring on there that makes the rack and the slide just butter. But I didn't want to go that far with this one because, frankly, it doesn't need it. A standard spring like this is more than sufficient. So I did find it interesting, though, that in the parts for this gun, right, stock parts even, the barrel that comes with this, right? Now this is an Italian-made barrel because it has all the proof marks and everything else. But the thing that struck me as odd is the falling block here is black, because when I ordered a stainless threaded barrel for my 96 to get it threaded for a compensator and all that stuff, the locking block was stainless as well, and it was also Italian-made. So it's interesting that the still Italian-made barrel has a black locking block, but I think it fills the looks well on this pistol because it's kind of going for like a two-tone look with the stainless and the black. All right, so I think it actually works pretty well in this case to not be entirely stainless. I don't think functionally it makes any difference at all whatsoever, at least not that I can see. The block on my 96, for instance, I mean the stainless finish, I guess, is definitely wearing off on it because of the action of the pistol, but I don't think it's really going to make any functional difference at all. So let me put this guide rod back in, if I can get this back together. One sec. I will say that it is a little frustrating to work with these little shock buffs. It's also from Wilson Combat for these pistols because it doesn't really like to cooperate with a non-captive recoil spring like that. But I think they are definitely worth having in the gun. You know, I don't have any numbers or like hard data to back it up, but I use these same kind of buffers in my 1911 pistols, and they've always worked great. So I see no reason why they wouldn't work great as well in these kinds of pistols. So cool, we'll get that back together. And this gun's still a little bit dirty. I haven't cleaned it since the last shooting because I'm lazy, and I really should be better about that. But so when I first picked this up and I was looking at it and everything, I was actually pretty surprised at the build quality of it, because the slide was actually really difficult to get off and on. When I was first taking it down, it was actually like I had to wiggle it a little bit to actually get the slide to come off. And then of course to get it back onto, I had to kind of, there was something that it was getting caught on, or just not like having a whole lot of wiggle room, so you had to get the slide angled just right onto the rails, which to me indicates a pretty high tight tolerance and fit, if you will. So I'm quite happy about that. For other upgrades though that I've done to this pistol, I have done the D style hammer spring here, because I will say the double action on this pistol from factory was absurd. It was very heavy. Like out of all the 92 series pistols that I've owned, this one here has been the heaviest factory double action pull I have ever felt. Heck, it was even heavier than the Gerson I just reviewed. It's heavier than that. I was like, dang, that's a heavy double action trigger pull. So, like I said, to make it nice and kind of gussy it up, I went and got the D hammer spring, put that sucker in here, and that has vastly improved the trigger pull. So now it feels pretty much just like my 96. So that is a definite awesome and worthwhile upgrade. I've had no reliability issues. It hasn't had any issues setting off primers or ammunition or anything like that. So if you can get a better trigger pull and not sacrifice reliability with setting off ammunition due to the reduced hammer spring power, why not, right? So with all of that, I did shoot it a little bit as stock configuration just to get a feel for it. And of course, with like any 92 pistol, it was very, very smooth shooting, accurate, reliable, all the good things that you expect from a 92 pistol. This one is no different. Of course, with the double action pull being quite heavy. I will say though, the sights on these, so with Inox pistols, you'll typically see, at least the modern ones anyways, you'll see the rear sight here is 2 red painted dots, and the front sight is of course fixed with the slide with a similarly red painted dot. I have found this is not an ideal sight arrangement because when you're aiming down sight, the front sight here tends to kind of not be as what's the word, contrastful, I guess. It's not as obvious, it's not as easy to pick up with the eye. And even in the middle of the day, this red paint here on the front does not show up hardly at all. Like, you really honestly can't even see it. It would actually be better if this red dot here in the front was actually white or just blacked out entirely. Same thing with the rear sights here, because when you're looking at this rear sight and you see those two red dots, it's actually a little distracting just to see that. And I would personally rather a standard three dot white setup or completely blacked out in the rear with maybe some kind of way to contrast the front sight just a little bit better. And that's an upgrade in the future that I'm discussing with the girlfriend as well. See what she likes and maybe go to a smith and get that changed. So, but yeah, even though with the other shooting experience, I also shot it quite a bit after the upgrades, and it was way better, way smoother. Double action trigger pull, like I said, was much improved. The slickness of the action and everything, it was just a whole lot better. The added weight to the front as well with the stainless steel guide rod versus the plastic one definitely helped to tame the recoil quite a bit. Because I noticed when I was shooting this, the recoil control tends to jump around a little bit. And it was worse before during the stock shooting. It wasn't anything like uncontrollable or bad, but it was noticeable to me. But after doing all these upgrades and everything, it definitely shot a lot better. So that goes to accuracy, and I'm very happy to report the accuracy on this is fantastic, and I have a target here to prove it. So this here was shot at 25 yards standing offhand. No support, no rest, nothing, just really taking my time. 25 yards, 5 shots. And you can see right here, this group here measured at 1.9 inches. So that is sub 2-inch accuracy group at 25 yards with this pistol, using just regular factory off-the-shelf ammo. I didn't hand load any of this stuff. I didn't make any special loads or anything, just factory stuff. So the fact that this pistol is able to do that with these sights, my shooting at the time, atmospheric conditions, weather, if you will, right? All those things, the planets aligned, stars aligned, everything worked out pretty well. And the majority of the day that I was shooting for groups at 25 yards, my average was sitting more around the 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 inches at 25 yards. And I was getting pretty tired there towards the end, and my groups were suffering a little bit more. But that 1.9 right there was definitely the best group of the day. So mechanically speaking, this gun is quite accurate, and I'm very happy to report that it is capable of that. Not that I had any doubts, of course, because Beretta 92 pistols, of course, are excellent. I have a lot of experience with them, a lot of time shooting with them, and this one is just, of course, another line of excellent pistols from Beretta. But yeah, so speaking of Beretta as well, on these Hogue grips here, so these are Hogue brand grips, however, they have the Beretta Trident logo in them, and I thought that was pretty cool, because my 96 has the same style of grips, but on the emblem there, it's the Hogue emblem, not the Beretta one. So at some point, I may order some more of these just for my 96 to make it look more all Beretta, really push the brand, But yeah, so that was the shooting experience. Great double action trigger pull, single action's great, accuracy is phenomenal, reliability is 100% with all ammo, all magazines. Of course, that's what you'd expect out of a 92. No issues at all whatsoever. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, it's going to be your basic standard 92 FS style pistol. I've covered these so much already in my other videos, so there's not really much more I can add on here that hasn't already been said. But with the Inox, I mean, you get these because they look nice, right? You pay the extra, you pay the premium because it looks nice. It has all the cool trimmings and everything. It's just a nice and a cool pistol, but also practical at the same time. And that's one thing I absolutely adore from weapons that, even anything in life. If it can look good and be practical and reasonably affordable, all three at the same time, like that's like the perfect trifecta for things that I would like to have. So this definitely meets all of it. I will say this is a little pricey. For the same amount of money, you could probably get into a M9A4 or M9A3 even, which are also excellent pistols. But when you buy something like this, you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it for the aesthetic reasons. You're doing it because you're a fan, because you like them, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if this did need to be pressed into service as a practical use sidearm, it will do that in spades all day long, just like any other 92 pistol. So, yeah, I am quite happy with it, and the girlfriend is also quite happy with it. So, of course, that's good that she likes her gift, you know. I'd be a little disappointed if she didn't. I was making a joke with some of my guy friends that I was like, man, she better appreciate this pistol, because if she doesn't, this thing's going to bed with me, and she gets to sleep on the couch. But anyway, I was just making a joke. But yeah, I will say the one knock I do have against this is there is a minor blemish, a very minor one, here at the front of the slide. There is a like, I guess the machining that day wasn't quite what it should have been. There is two tiny little burrs here. I don't know if it will show up on camera, probably not. But if you look, let me see, right here where the pen is pointing, it's not focusing. Right here where this scallop is, there's a slight burr on both sides of the slide. Now, I realize that is a very, very minor thing. However, when you're paying this much money and you buy the gun for the looks, right, and you want it to be nice and everything else, you want everything to be nice, those two little imperfections there are just kind of, it takes away a little bit from the niceness of the pistol. And this is not an unusual thing to be heard of from either the Italian or the US made pistols. It seems like in some cases, maybe it was made by Tony on a Friday afternoon, right? And he just really wanted to go home that day and didn't really feel like, you know, adding the extra touch here in the end, right? Cool, I get it, right? It happens. If I had the option to have a pistol that would not have that, I mean, yeah, I'd go for it, of course, over this one. But these are certainly rare enough as they are, and they really don't come into the country hardly all that often. So, given the circumstances, given the price, everything else, right? To me, it still made sense to go ahead and purchase the spaghetti version of the Inox. So, but yeah, here we are. And other than that, I have no complaints, nothing really to say bad about this particular pistol. So again, Beretta makes really quality stuff. I've never been disappointed with their products, really. And yeah, but after all these upgrades and everything, now it would be really cool if they had an upgraded version of the Inox that was kind of like this, with all the nice fixings already put in it, right? Or maybe if they made the Brigadiers more available, like that's what people like really want. Like I was telling her, my girlfriend, right, like, man, Italian Inox Brigadier would be so awesome, because then you can do anything to it, and it has like super cool factor to it. You know, you can change out your sights and everything, and has the big beefy slide, and it's all nice and cool, and blah blah blah. But you know, in this day and age, and for what it is, like, I'll take what I can get, and I'm still very happy and very pleased with what I have here. Of course, what she has as well. So. But yeah, I thought I would definitely, you know, bring this to you guys and show you, you know, quite possibly one of my favorite Beretta pistols ever, because I've never had an Inox before. I've always seen them in shops, but I never pulled the trigger on one, no pun intended. You know, but they're just really nice pistols, and they perform very well. So I'm quite happy with this. So yeah, but yeah. I consider myself lucky enough that you know, I have an amazing woman that you know, getting a gun for her actually is a good and welcome gift, right? You know, it's just something that she's wanted for a long time, so I'm happy that you know, I have that kind of relationship going on. But anyway, so yeah, that's the Beretta 92 Italian-made Inox. Super cool, super awesome, highly recommended. I think it's worth the money, to be honest. I mean, like I said, if you're spending this kind of money on this kind of thing, you're not buying it totally for practical reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it doesn't have the optic cut here, you know, like the modern X pistols and the A4s do and all that fancy stuff, right? It doesn't have the factory threaded barrel, blah, 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 whatever. I still think you can definitely do some work with one of these. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got to say about it, and I don't know, it's awesome. So, yeah, we'll see you next time.